from Poshnoshjosh. We welcome back to Real Talk. Today I'm kitted out for possibly my final appearance on social media. So what are we talking about? Bankers. Yes, you heard me. Bankers. If I wrote that, you probably would think that I was one. But fortunately, I'm not. So let's begin. Let's start with pre-COVID. This is when all businesses opened every day and at the same time. Or did all of them not open at exactly the same time? Oh, I remember back to a couple of branches of the banks in our town. They would open at 10 or 10:30 once a week because of training, staff training. It's amazing, isn't it? The amount of training they must have needed, indefinite training, week after week. Anyway, so let's now move the story on to COVID. Everyone claims, particularly the banks, I receive lots of emails, I see lots of ads, we are here for you. So let's find out if they really are here for us. And there's ultimately only one test that they have to pass. That's the scrutiny test of Poshnoshjosh. So let's see how they get on. Right, so during COVID, the branches were all closed. Everything was closed. And you have stickers. The premises is closed due to COVID-19. Okay, fair enough. So as a result, we would all have to go online and do mobile banking. But we'll come to all of that later on. Let's just stick to the branch for the present. So after a period of being closed, branches started opening. Because I might remember, these were vital services, like garages had to stay open, post offices needed to stay open, and then presumably banks had to stay open. So I remember a few weeks back, me and Mrs. Poshnosh going to our local bank on a Tuesday. And she was deliriously happy. She said to me, there's no queues. And I said, they're probably not even open. So we walked up to the door and we saw a little sticker. This branch is temporarily closed. We looked further and it talked about days and times that they were actually open. So this branch was open on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. Obviously no one needed to bank on a Tuesday or Thursday. So my partner said, well, let's go across the road to this other bank when she has an account. Heaven forbid, they too are closed. So the competition is doing exactly what the other bank is doing. Great. I remember banks then starting to open. And my first experience was with seeing this old man in a terrified state standing outside a cash point. And I asked him what the matter was. And he was just terrified. And he said, last week I came here, I put my card in and I asked for a withdrawal amount. I didn't get the withdrawal amount, nor would the machine return my card. And needless to say, the branch was closed. There's lots of stickers talking about the website address, mobile banking details. Well, what exactly was this man, 85-year-old, supposed to do at his moment of need? So he used his initiative. He did what any clever person would do. He clouted the machine, and fortunately, it returned his card. So let's now move on to the situation of us going back to visit this bank branch on a Wednesday morning. So my partner went to the cashier and asked, why are you not open on Tuesdays? And she said, well, we're actually working almost all of the days, but we work in different branches. There was a branch open, and it's only like 5 miles away. 5 miles away to go to your local branch of your bank. So it means that you've got to pick your town in order to be able to ensure you can get to a bank. Is that what you're saying? Anyway, okay. Needless to say, there was a long queue within the bank. And as usual, there was lots of very smartly dressed people with notepads and biros offering their services. Can we help? Help with what? What do you need? Oh, we just need to deposit some money or a check. Oh, we can teach you how to use the deposit machine, the quick deposit machine. Why do we need to learn to deposit our checks and cash into these deposit machines? Why would it not be simpler just to have another person behind the screen? Now that the government has told us that it's imperative that there is protection, I would think that the banks would be open 7 days a week, because they've had those glass screens or whatever, which is stronger than PPE in my opinion. So I don't understand why they needed to stay closed for as long as they did. Anyway, so that's your experience at the branch. Now, if you have managed to actually see someone at the branch, when you get home, you're probably going to receive a text message talking about the quality of your experience. Well, let's analyze this text message. If I went to a supermarket and I paid for my shopping, would the person who took my money, the cashier there at the checkout, send me a text asking me how they performed? If I went to a pizza parlor, a takeaway pizza, and I ordered a pizza with X toppings, would I expect to receive a text that evening asking me how I evaluated the performance of the person who took an order of a pizza with some toppings? It is plainly ridiculous. Please grow up. So let's move on now to what they want. They don't want us going to the branch, so we should probably telephone or go online. I can't stand online, so I tend to ring. So the first thing when you ring is you'll be met with the message. Unfortunately, we are currently experiencing a very high volume of calls, and it will take longer than expected for you to be connected. Your call is, however, important to us, and we will get you connected as soon as a customer person becomes available. Shut up, da 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 da. Question here. When has there not been a high level of calls in the last 20 years? Maybe more staff are needed at these call center places? I don't know. Anyway, so first and foremost, when we ring, is we firstly will struggle to call them, because mostly the telephone numbers are hidden, so you have to almost go to the internet and fiddle about for half an hour to find a number. If you ring the number, then you're met with that message they've already gone over. And then if you still have the patience, you will eventually get through to someone. And that person will obviously start with security. So it will be something along the lines of, what did you eat 17 days ago and what time did you have it? And so most people will probably fail. Those that are shrewd enough will probably somehow manage to get past all of that. And then it'll be, so how can I help you? Now, I want to start with Santander here, because I actually called them because I hadn't received interest on one of the accounts. As you well know, they all stipulate these days that you must have 2 active direct debits. So my question is, there are a lot of people have direct debits, say, for example, to gyms, and they have been suspended, those particular memberships. So there'll be no monies going out on direct debit. So please check to see whether, if you were due any interest, any has been paid, because I very much doubt it. It has to be active. The same way, I had a situation that I relied upon a Barclaycard transaction being one of my other direct debits. And I will explain exactly what the consequences of COVID are, but it's needless to cut a long story short. Barclaycard had no monies going to them on an active direct debit because that account was in credit. So there goes. So there was an explanation as to why. I was quite annoyed, and I just basically asked the person, can you tell me what the rate of interest is on this particular account? And she said, well, it's all on our website, it's all online. And I said, I beg your pardon, I'm calling you, what is the interest on this account? It's like trying to get blood out of a stone. They literally go out of their way of being unhelpful. So that was the story with Santander. I want to now move on to Barclaycard and that direct debit that didn't go through. So I rang Barclaycard, and needless to say, I had to go through the usual. But this is actually a little bit different, so let me elaborate. So I've gone through all of the security, and in Barclaycard's case, it took me half an hour of listening to Sade's In Paradise. I can assure you, by the end of the half hour, I was far from being in paradise. I eventually got through, and then I was met with the usual obligatory security. What is the passcode? What is the this? What is the that? I managed to somehow get through all of that, and I spoke with the person. The reason for this particular call, in fact, was that I had stopped receiving statements. And she said, oh, I don't know, I can send them. And I said, why did you stop sending me the statements? And she said, well, most people don't need them. I beg your pardon, most people don't need them. Okay, I have a simple test. Apply for a mortgage to a bank, okay? And see how many of them are willing to accept you twiddling your mobile phone with your bank balance and transactions. They will all ask for paper statements, all of which banks no longer wish to send us because they say we don't need them. So I think we do need them, and you need to be sending them. The reason I was also given for that was that after extensive customer service feedback and research, we felt most of our customers didn't want them. No one has ever asked me if I wanted a paper statement. If they had, I would have told them that I do, and they would have continued to send them. But there seems to be some sort of setting that automatically goes to paperless. God only knows. There must be some clever IT geezers there. Now let's move on also to talking about that experience that I had with Barclaycard. After having listened to Sade, she had actually, the person I got through, said to me at some point, even after I'd finished the security part, she asked me, are you calling me from your mobile? And I said, why do you ask? She said, because I'm going to send you a one-time passcode which will then enable me to go into your record. So I spent 45 minutes hanging around, listening to Sade, going through security, and if I didn't have a mobile phone, the person that's supposed to be serving me would not be able to get into my record. It is daft beyond words, beyond human comprehension. It is beyond that, okay? So I was fortunate, I owned a mobile phone. So explain to me how most of the aging population would have dealt with in this situation. They can't go to the bank, they're closed. If they ring a number, they're most unlikely to pass security. In fact, I reckon that they go out of their way hoping that we fail security. It's literally reached that point. I'll talk about bank security and fraud in another later on within this discussion. Right. So we've dealt with that issue. Barclaycard also have an issue whereby a lot of accounts are now heavily in credit. Now the reason we've come across that situation is that a lot of people booked expensive holidays. And as a result of government intervention, they all needed to be refunded. So all of the accounts were heavily in credit. Now, if you go shopping and try and use up this credit, you might succeed after a year because the queues at the supermarkets put you off most of the time. And most of the other shops where you might spend it are closed. If you want to squander it in beauty parlors or whatever, or hairdressers, there too you're limited with. So you are almost forced to have to ask for a refund. So on this particular occasion, I rang Barclaycard and I got through to a person who said they worked for Barclays Bank. Why did I call this number? Well, I called the number that was on the Barclaycard statement. I can't govern how the calls are transferred to their operators and their staff. So this person said, oh, for a credit, it's quite simple. You just ask them for a refund of your credit back and they will credit your account. I'm not related to Albert Einstein, okay? And I could not find any such link. But fortunately, my son is related to Albert Einstein since he did a master's at Cambridge. After he had fumbled about for about half an hour, he stumbled across the link and did this transaction for me. So to suggest that all of these transactions are easily accessible and doable for ordinary people, they're living in cloud cuckoo land. So let's finish with that. Let's just deal also now with Barclays Bank. Now, my partner went to Barclays Bank the other day and was waiting outside in a long queue. There was a woman that was literally going nuts. She had tried to do something regarding a house purchase or a house sale, and she needed to sort something out on the account. So she called them, and the people online said, no, you have to physically go and see a personal banker. She went to 4 branches and was told in every branch there is no personal banker available. This person literally had to scream and say, help, what can I do? Someone then, through embarrassment, came out and opened the door and obviously dealt with her situation. This is the reality of what is going on and serving us during COVID. Now let's move on to this business about bank security and bank fraud. They take it very seriously. Oh, trust me, they take it very, very seriously. So what you've got to do, because since the banks are already closed, we know that we're going to have to go online. So the first thing you have to do is you have to create a login. It depends on how many characters. Some of them will ask for whatever it is. And you generally, the login is not the difficult part. You then have to have this password. And this is where your problems will start. Because it will probably say it has to be 8 characters long. It has to have numbers, it must have uppercase, it must have special characters, etc., etc., etc. So literally, you will struggle to even create one of these things. You'll keep getting asterisks with little red boxes because you've done it wrong. If you succeed, and you're really, really clever in the minority and succeed, you then have to have a password reminder word that you then have to think up. So you get into a situation that if you're lucky enough to have created all of this, you will forget what it is that you have created. And you will then almost be forced into trying to remember and write it, which of course you shouldn't do because otherwise it will lead to fraud. If you remember and do manage to write it, you must not keep it next to your bank card. You must keep it separate, otherwise people will get hold of it. So the next time you have any sort of online need, you are going to be stuffed because you're either not going to find the bank card or the piece of paper that gives you the passcode to what you need to be able to get in. So there again, it is literally, God knows what we're supposed to do. So let's now deal with the situation of mobile banking. So the banks are closed, but you don't need to visit them because all the facilities are there at your fingertips. So in the case where I wanted to deposit a check at Santander, which is usually closed, I could use their mobile app. Well, I have news for them. I downloaded 3 versions of Santander's mobile app. I watched a YouTube tutorial on how to bank a check with Santander. Nowhere within those 3 mobile apps did I come across this particular link that enables me to bank a check. And then basically they think that this mobile banking is the best thing since sliced bread. So it most definitely isn't. If I was doing something wrong, please respond and let me know how thick I am. I'd also like to make special mention of the extreme lengths Santander are going to help us during COVID. So we've already established that they don't keep the branches open. They make it difficult for us to be able to call them. If we do manage to get through to them, they go out of their way to point us to their website and be unhelpful, and now have the audacity during these unprecedented times of lowering their interest rates but still offering a competitive rate of interest, a monthly £5 account administration fee for the privilege of this farce. Have a good look at yourselves. Is beyond words. So now let's move on in summary to the most patronizing situation of all. So if we ever have a situation where we manage to get through, we are reminded that these calls may be recorded for training and quality purposes. But let me tell you something. I have not seen one shred of quality in any of my dealings. So God knows what training is taking place. It is about time the bank management had a damn good look at themselves and see what services they're actually not providing. I have also a question for everyone. Do you have any idea what your bank manager looks like or sounds like? Has anyone ever managed to speak to a manager when they're on the phone and they're getting nowhere? You will be told about the complaints procedure, whereby you will waste your time and spend another hour writing an essay for people to just neatly file it. I think that if nothing else, each and every person that watches this video should be hitting the like button in recognition of the points that are being made. Because what is going on as far as serving us is as useful as a chocolate teapot. It's over and out from Poshnoshjosh. See ya.